Time signatures. All right, hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Mike, and today we're gonna talk about time signatures, why they're important, and why as drummers, it's especially important that you understand them. So, if you don't understand what time signatures are, I'm sure that you've asked yourself the question, what is a time signature and why do I need to know them? I'm gonna give you 5 reasons why it's important to know them. Point number 1. Even if you can't read sheet music, I still think it's important that you understand what time signatures are because I think it'll help you learn how to play grooves, create your own grooves, and understand the grooves that other people play. Point number 2, time signatures help us structure our music. They determine how many counts are in a measure. If you don't know what a measure is, I'm gonna show you right here what a measure is. Point number 3, something important about time signatures as well is there can be many different time signatures within a song, and it helps us to understand those changes that you have within the song. Point number 4, you can be a super newbie, beginner, sucker who knows nothing about time or nothing about sheet music or nothing about drumming in general, or you can be a Giga Chad drummer who's been playing for 70 years. Time signatures are still important for both drummers because understanding the time that you are playing in will help you wrap your head around the grooves that you're trying to learn. Point number 5. The most important thing about being a drummer is time. So I do think it is imperative that we as drummers understand the time that we're playing in. It's important. This time is important. That's why we're drummers. So you probably clicked on this video wondering what a time signature actually is. So time signatures do 2 things. They tell us how many notes or beats are in a measure, and they also assign the value of time to said notes or beats. I'm gonna stop you right there. Time signatures are not fractions, even though they kind of look like them. Not kind of, they look exactly like fractions. Do not think of these as fractions. So let's start off with the most popular time signature that you could ever come across. I think probably 95% of modern music is in 4/4. Yes, we're gonna talk about 4/4. 4/4 is really the workhorse of the time signature. So, for our time signature, as you can see right here, the top number tells us how many notes are within a measure, or how many beats. And the bottom number assigns the value of time to those beats or notes. So, when we look at 4/4, we have 4 notes within a measure. And this 4 is showing us that each note is equal to a quarter note. That's where we get the word quarter note from. Here is an example of a 4/4 groove.
One of the notes, or as all of the notes? What do you mean?
So, 6/8 is another very common time signature. It's probably the second most common time signature in music. Although, right off the bat, you can see that it is very different from 4/4, meaning that the 8th note is what gets the beat, which means that half the time is getting the beat. When we have 6/8, the 8 is telling us that the 6 notes that make up this measure are equal to an 8th note. And typically, you would break up 6/8 into 2 groupings of 3 8th notes. You would typically count it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/8 also has a more dancey, more ballad-like feel to it. Some popular songs in 6/8 are We Are the Champions by Queen, Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, and Subterranean Homesick Alien by Radiohead. I am now going to play you an example of a groove in 6/8. Now, our next time signature is 3/4. This time signature you'd probably associate the most with waltz, classical music, or hymnals. What makes 3/4 any different than 6/8? Because it seems like 2 bars of 3/4 are exactly like a bar of 6/8. And my answer to you is they feel different. It is also probably more convenient to count one way than the other. Meaning, is it more convenient to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1 and 2 and 3 and? And it really depends on the song you're playing. Some popular songs 3/4 are Still Crazy After All These Years by Paul Simon, Behind the Wall of Sleep by Black Sabbath, and Army Dreamers by Kate Bush. I'm now going to play you an example of a groove in 3/4. However, Now we are starting to get into some odd time signatures. They are fun, they are in music, and they are odd. First one we're going to talk about is 5/4 or 5/8. Now, I'm saying 5/4 or 5/8 interchangeably because it really depends on use case to determine which one you would use. Like, I would not play a bar of 5/8 after a bar of 4/4. I would probably just play 5/4. It really depends on the music that you're playing. Now, either way, you would count them as just 5 beats within the measure, no matter how much time you're assigning to those notes, which is why I'm using them interchangeably. So I typically count odd time signatures in groupings of 2 or 3. Instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I just count 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Or instead of counting in 7/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or hell, 9/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I just count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or for 7, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. However, you can still count 5/4 as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Here are some popular songs in 5/4. The Halloween Theme by John Carpenter, The Grudge by Tool, and Animals by Muse. Here are 2 grooves, one being in 5/4 and one being in 5/8. Now, 7/4 or 7/8 is super cool. I'd probably say that it's my favorite odd time signature. This one is quite a bit like 5/4 in terms of feel, but with just 2 extra beats. To me, a lot of times it feels like a delayed 5/4. Popular songs in 7/4 are Them Bones by Alice in Chains, Money by Pink Floyd, and All You Need Is Love by the Beatles. I'm now going to show you 2 examples of 7/4 or 7/8. Now, this is the last time signature I'm going to talk about, and it is 9/8. Like 6/8, you can break down 9/8 into groupings of 3. Instead of 2 groupings of 3, it's going to be 3 groupings of 3. I'm now going to play you an example of a groove in 9/8. That's good. After all is said and done, time signatures can be interpreted in millions of different ways. There is no one way that is correct, but there is definitely a most convenient way to count something, a way that makes the most sense. Meaning, you could have a song in 9/8, but you could probably also count that song as 3 bars of 3/8, or 1 bar of 6/8 and 1 bar of 3/8. It really just depends on what is most convenient, and in that case, it would absolutely be just 1 bar of 9. Now, I'd like to thank you for joining me today and getting to experience time signatures. I hope you have learned something. Please come back and see me again.